Welcome back to the harbor. I'm your host, the Kino Cowboy, here with my co-host as usual, Scott Keith. Today we're doing 1948's The Red Shoes, based off of, is it Christian Andersen?
Hans
One of
Christian
his.
Andersen. I had never heard of Hans Christian Andersen's. I mean, I know Hansel and Gretel. I know his greatest hits, but I'm not deep into the discography and lore of Hans Christian Andersen
Yeah.
because I'm not a 16th century German peasant child.
Yeah. This is directed by Powell and Pressburger, the iconic duo from the 40s who did Matter of Life and Death, which is Kino, and we might do an episode on it at some point. And then he also did Black Narcissus, which I thought this movie was going to be more similar to that. I knew nothing about this going in. I thought it was going to be like a straight up adaptation of like the fairy tale, and it's a about a ballet, and then has a meta kind of story
Very
going in
meta.
the background that mirrors.
Story within a story, which
Yeah,
is pretty novel for the time for
for sure.
1948. I think this movie does a lot of things that are very novel for the time.
Oh yeah,
Which there was some mixed reactions to that at the time. Looking back at it, yeah, I can see why this is considered a landmark film. I enjoyed the heck out of it, and I think it's leagues above some of its contemporaries, and
yeah.
still has stuff to say that I think is just as relevant to this. Heck, La La Land kind of says some of the stuff that this says, only maybe even less effective.
Fair. That's yeah. That I will say I liked Matter of Life and Death a little bit more than this one,
I
but
haven't seen it.
this is a beautiful film. Kind of miss Technicolor sometimes.
Technicolor dreamscape,
Yeah.
sumptuous Technicolor, which is, it almost took me a second. It's been a while since I've seen a film just shot in good old fashioned Technicolor. And a lot of the movies that I saw on TV, on Turner Classic Movies and stuff like that growing up, World 10, or even stuff I had on VHS. So I grew up watching a lot of Technicolor movies. It had just been a while, and it took me. It didn't take me a long time. I was within the first scene, but and obviously it always advertises that's in Technicolor at the beginning. Like, okay, we get it. It's in color. It was a big deal at the time. I understand, um, but it's there is something to Technicolor, even though it's not as naturalistic as modern coloration in film. Of course, there's something inherently filmic about it because, and it is just because of the history, but stuff pops so much. The example I saw, obviously there's all the lavish musical numbers and sets and all that, and that's all beautiful. But at the beginning, when it's just I'm trying to get his name, pronounce his name correctly, the director,
Yeah.
um the
That one guy.
Lermontov. I was saying his name over and over, trying to remember it.
Yeah.
When you have him having his breakfast at his hotel and he has a spread and he has his manservant taking his cigarettes and stuff, which is the most baller thing. Apparently, even like Mike Tyson has a guy to like light his cigarettes. It's an alpha move to have somebody to handle your cigarettes for you.
Would you do
Why
that
you would
as a
want
job?
that, honestly, I don't know why. It seems like a jumping through hoops, and you get somebody else's grubby old hands, get all their germs in your
Yeah,
mouth.
but
I
would
don't.
you do it? Would you do it as a job?
Would I do it as a job if they pay me all right? It can't be that hard.
Then you have to hang out with
If
them
they
all
don't
the
treat
time.
if they don't treat me like complete crap, I do wonder about that about butlers and stuff. Like, how are their self esteem? Are they okay, or are they just
Yeah.
like
Like I
serving
I
people?
would feel too bad to have a butler. I feel like I don't know. I'd have to like it's like okay, I want to make sure you're eating and enjoying all the same shit I am and like not having like a any bullshit less than me. Like
Yeah, yeah. Some people even have their help on the premises. It's like, dude, that's like you're getting close to plantation life there. That's weird. I mean, even modern places like in LA, I've seen those big house tours. I was like, what do you? Seems weird. Also, these big houses are empty because everybody looks at it like, I'm not spending $500 million on a house. Are you kidding me? That's stupid. Um,
yeah.
who am I gonna sell it to if I ever
I
want it?
get I get having like a maid, pe house people to come in and
Yeah,
clean
but
and
even
stuff.
then, they could come once a week.
Yeah.
And that's actually, that could just be an upper middle class thing. Fortunately, I'm in no risk of having a butler anytime soon.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to pay off last month's credit card statement still.
Yeah.
So I need to file taxes and get that refund and
Com
find a job other than
completely
DoorDash.
different world we live in.
Yeah. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the red shoes and its beautiful Technicolor dreamscape.
Technicolor is such like a it's still so well known and relevant today that it's even mentioned in pop songs to express or convey messages of beauty and escapism, you know,
That's
because
good branding.
it
It's
just
good.
takes
That's,
you to another world.
I mean, that's all time good branding. If
Yeah,
years after the technology is defunct, people are still
yeah.
referencing it.
Yeah.
Um,
Another
it's
point, this movie, the first thing this movie brought to my attention is that I think we should bring back capes and cloaks. I just
it's
think it
I
looks cool.
capes and cloaks. It's cyclical, and we're in the 20s, so maybe in the 40s, maybe in 15 years, 16 years, we'll,
Yeah,
we'll all be wearing capes. If these weebs get more and more popular, weebs
yeah,
are, I mean, multiplying now. There's so many weebs that they can actually get laid and have weeb children,
that's
and
right.
so we're just gonna have people wearing capes, and then I'm gonna hate it because they'll be the ones wearing capes, and I hope they get sucked into an airplane engine like in The Incredibles when they no capes, but yes, capes maybe.
Yeah,
Close are cool. I've thought of that. I've thought in getting a big Humphrey Bogart raincoat, uh, but I live here, not in Seattle, so I don't know how much use it would get. Um, is this movie a musical?
no,
I don't think so either. It is pretty genre building. It has one amazing long 15, 17-minute musical number that
yeah,
we will get to. It steals the show from its own movie,
yeah.
actually. And structurally, I find it very interesting at where
Very interesting. I was surprised by the structure of the film for sure.
um because normally that I feel like that would be at the end of the film, but that's the second act break,
Yeah,
essentially. And then we have a whole nother act of interpersonal drama. Um, so this starts out, you have people talking in the theater. So I start off not liking the protagonist for that reason alone. He's the kind of guy who talks in the balcony. Not a fan, not a fan.
yeah. But
Buddy
he's
of
like
mine.
worried. He's like waiting to see if his music was aped. You know.
No, that's true, and it was. I guess plagiarism must have been harder to prove, like a lot of crimes back then. Although there's a great line in there where Lermontov talks to him, and he basically says, the quote is, "It's more disheartening to have to steal than to be stole from," which is wise, I think.
Yeah.
If somebody had to steal my crappy jokes, I mean, I'd be like, well, if you're a crappy enough comedian, you have to steal my garbage, then you must be desperate, dude. For instance.
Yeah.
And yeah, Boris Lermontov. I want to talk about him because the more I think about it, the more he's one of my favorite antagonists I've seen in a movie recently and in a while,
Interesting.
actually.
Okay.
Because he's very complex. Lermontov, he is kind of a dictatorial sort of director, but he's not a bad person at any point, I would argue. He's flawed. He's not malicious. That can be debated for sure.
I don't know. Feel like
I,
he lets weird jealousy get in the way of the art and stuff.
jealous of what?
I don't know. Like I guess he's jealous of her and her falling in love with him.
Yeah,
With
do you
Julian.
think that's the debate though in this movie and of his character is, does he have the hots for Victoria or for that French girl earlier in the movie when it's first established that he's like, no, you shouldn't date. You should just dance until your tippy toes fall off.
I don't know if he has the hots for her. I think he might just be pissed off that she would allow herself to see anything other than the dance, the art form, and see anything be possibly in the way of that more important than that because he's so into the craft. I think he's up his own ass with the craft.
Yeah, he is absolutely. But
So
he's good at it.
yeah,
He's almost
yeah, that's the
asexual about it.
thing. He's got the fucking juice. He's got the proof in the pudding. So
And that's what you say about a lot of. I had a conversation with our friend Sumner, who's a Harbor alum, um, and we were talking about a very similar movie Across the Spider-Verse, and and the allegations that what's his name, 21 Jump Street guy, whoever directed it,
Lord and Miller.
Lord and Miller. Was it just Phil Lord?
No, I think it's both of them.
It's both of them. That how much of a pain they were to work with, and they would have people redo entirely almost complete or complete scenes, which in animation is insane, and that's why, and that's the longest. I think it's like the longest, one of the longest animated movies ever.
Yeah.
And so, and how much terrible of environment it is, and I feel terrible for those animated. Animation's brutal. If you read up on the working conditions and how much of it gets outsourced, and
Yeah.
how long they have to work and how little respect they garner, even though they do so much. They make the movie. The animators are the stars. It's like when you cast, Sofia Vergara and Happy Feet 2 to do a half-assed performance. The animators are the stars. She's just getting a check, though.
Yeah, that makes me think of that Paw Patrol movie that had Kim Kardashian as her own dog poster in the theater. It's like a cameo. Like, how degrading is that?
It's just to get parents to be like, oh, well, maybe I won't kill myself if I see this movie with my kids. It's a terrible thing. And part of me is like, we should have more respect for voice actors, and we should, but also some of the voice actors are used over and over and over. So breaking in, it's like, well, it's just going to be Laura Bailey or Nolan North or one of these guys.
Tara Strong.
Yeah, but again, maybe
Bradley
the weebs
Baker.
can help. Maybe the weebs can help out with that.
Yeah,
watching more anime.
So
The future belongs to the weebs, and I have very mixed feelings, but mostly negative about it. Anyway, but I was talking with Sumner about the movie. Here's the point, and how brutal the conditions were. And Sumner looked at me and he said, "Yeah, but have you seen the movie? Proof's in the pudding." And
yeah,
like,
it sucks. It's
I
true.
can't argue. I mean, that was my number 2 favorite film last year. Which is insane because
the
it's
same
so,
shit with Apocalypse Now. There's dozens and dozens of these stories, like brutal movies that were tough to shoot, but like, man, they turned out pretty good.
I can't wait for Megalopolis. I've been here reading so many mixed things, and I would rather have an uneven movie I can discuss than a mildly entertaining movie that I forget.
Anything that scares executives to put money towards is gonna be, I'm gonna be there day one.
He already sold all his vineyards to produce that movie. So for doing P&A for distribution and marketing and everything, I mean, he's going to probably have to cough up more of his fortune. But he's almost dead anyway. Screw it. This is his last big movie.
Yeah, let Sophia put up some money too. What she got?
Yeah. Well, what she did, she made Priscilla. She probably, she could throw in a mill.
Yeah, just a quick mill,
Come on. So yeah, that's one reason Lermontov, I can't completely hate him. It's almost this guy is a bad person, but like Daniel Plainview, it's like he's so good at what he does, you almost can't completely hate the guy. You have to have at least a grudging respect or begrudging. I don't know if it's grudging or begrudging, but
yeah,
we'll worry about that in the edit. And by we I mean you, because I don't edit this shit.
Well, that's So basically, the whole film is you got Julian, who's aspiring to have a good chance at conducting and writing music, and he kind of has trouble getting into the whole like machine of the play, the ballet. At first, he's trying to figure out how he fits in, and he kind of has trouble with that. And then we have the other protagonist. What's her name?
Victoria?
Victoria.
Victoria Page.
And she's wanting to get into, and she's going up against a few other ladies who want to get in. And then the director happens to see her one night show and is like, "Yep, you're in it." And so
you're fine. And she's a Nepo baby, which helps.
Yeah.
This is all high class. This movie's very British. All right, let's just get it out of the way. It's very European, very British. Class is still, and this is right after World War II, so Britain's in a weird spot. It's out of shape.
There's a regality to it.
There's definitely a regality. It's ripe for parody, but this movie does it so well that's attractive. There's some I've heard the term lifestyle porn thrown around. There's definitely
Yeah.
some lifestyle porn, especially when they're in the Riviera, which I know you and I are both into that whole aesthetic.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Big
And yeah,
time.
that's where
Yeah,
it's
you're
like,
Mediterranean. You get it.
yeah.
You're
Not that
into
I've
it.
ever been overseas, but yeah,
Yeah, but you
totally.
still it's in your
I've got the wishful thinking,
yeah, nah, it's in your DNA.
Yeah. I
Man.
like that. That's definitely when it turns, and I definitely got more into it as they transitioned to that area to perform and practice and stuff. And it's just cool to see um, multiple things going on in each scene when they're like rehearsing. You've got the choreographers doing their thing, the ballet dancers doing their thing, the director sitting back, and then you've got Julian who's trying to practice his music. It's like a clock, that's interesting to me. I've
It
never seen a
is.
ballet.
No, me neither. We're yeah, middle class at best. And that's just being generous. But well, I was gonna ask you because I'm a performer. I do stand up, and I took one acting class, and I was like, this is lame. I don't want to say what other people want me to say. I just want to talk. But you've worked on productions in high school,
Yes, I
and which
did.
is obviously a completely different beast. It's not even a
Yeah.
beast; it's a mouse to the beast of this. But I mean, what did this remind you of any experiences
That's
or
yeah,
bring you
it
back?
really did because people listening at home in high school, all the years I was part of the stage crew for our high school musicals, if you will. We did The Music Man and some new creation called Back to the 80s, which is the most Reddit fucking musical. Thinking about
The
it now.
Reddit, the musical.
It's so like Gen X, like we love the 80s.
Uh,
But it was fun. It was a jukebox musical because it was all hits that people were singing, but it was a fun one. And
right.
then
Did you do Hairspray? Were you on that one?
yeah, Hairspray. Hairspray was awesome because that was in 12th grade. And by that point, my friend Braden and I we did it since ninth grade. So by then, our teacher, Mr. S, made us the head of stage crew. So we were less moving stuff around that time and more coordinating when to do and what. So I kind of like I forget how much theater experience just from those musicals I actually have backstage. But like, 4 musical seasons for high school, it's not nothing.
It's not
And,
nothing at all.
and
That's
there's a
more
lot
than
of
I had.
moving parts. And like watching them practice the songs and stuff while we're simultaneously having to block every movement of the props and stuff. It gets kind of stressful on the week before, and but it always came together in the end. He like Mr. S, he had the juice, like he pulled it off, and
Did he prevent you guys from dating each other?
there was definitely some like teen drama and
Oh,
romance.
theater kids are
Theater
so
kids,
horny.
yeah,
It's insane. It's disgusting. Theater kids are disgusting.
yeah.
I Some of my comic friends were theater kids back in the day, and like I realized I can only hang out with one of them at a time because if they get together, it's too much. I can't get a word in. I can't even. I can't literally can't get a word in. I get steamrolled. I'm just like I'm leaving. I can't. You guys talk about Disney with each other, and I'll frig off.
That's the thing is like I had a lot of theater kid friends, but like my knowledge of stage plays was not good and still is not good. I just knew musicals from my favorite musicals like Mary Poppins or Sound of Music or Sweeney Todd. I'm too Kino pilled. I can't pull myself in too many
Right.
directions.
Well, and that's part of it is we grew up in an area of the country where there's not much theater, and theater is an increasingly inaccessible art form. Like any live event, like any live performance, the same venues are selling tickets in cities with exploding populations. So supply and demand, they're going to charge more, but it's going to become theater used to be a working class art form, and less and less so.
Yeah.
This is ballet and opera. That was never a working class art form. Those were always bougie AF.
Yeah.
Bougie AF.
I'd
Yeah, I
like to
just
see
said
a
that. That
ballet
just came out
or
of my mouth. No, this movie made me want to go to the theater. I would love to see an opera, but also those are like $400 tickets, and I could buy a PS5. I'm not doing that.
that's the problem. Now, if someone else is like says, "Hey, you want to come?" Or "Hey, I have 2 tickets, but I can't go." I'm be like, "Hell yeah,
Yeah,
let's
well,
go."
yeah, but I mean, I could say that about a lot of things.
But
If
even
somebody
just
if
like,
somebody was just like, "Hey, I have this spare Fabergé egg," yeah, I'd take it. But that doesn't
oh, and
mean
I'm saying like even like in New York, I'd like to see like a Broadway or off Broadway play or
I've
something.
I have seen Broadway musicals. I've been lucky. I saw Wicked in its original run, which I mean that play's kind of stupid, but it was fun. It was and Adina Menzel could sing. Holy crap!
Yeah,
Uh,
Barker surprises me out of nowhere. She's like, "Oh yeah, I've seen Wicked like 3 times." I'm like, What? You've
and you're
never?"
like, oh yeah, I forgot your parents. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, musicals are interesting because they're very much the mass produced operas. Like they're for tourists in New York. That's what they are. So
Yeah.
all none of the stories to musicals that I've seen. I mean, you're not there for the story. Stories are often loosely. It's almost, and this is not a joke. It's almost like porn. Like the plot is kind of there to support everything else.
Yeah. But it's like
Um,
why I can't stand when people like they hate musicals. They're like, it stops the plot, it doesn't go anywhere. It's like, no, like the story's being told through the music if you'd actually open up your ears and listen. And it's like, yeah, it does get excessive. Like sometimes they stop for a while, like in Singing in the Rain. Like
I
it,
was just thinking that because this movie stops for a long time, but I loved it. I think it's the
yeah.
highlight of the movie. And Singing in the Rain, Gene or whatever is like, I have an idea for a musical, and then it's 9 minutes of that
Of his pitch,
of
basically.
his pitch that has nothing to do with anything, and it's just like okay, and then it cuts back to the
It's
office.
impressive and it's fun, but
It's impressive and it's fun. But I remember I saw that movie in theaters, and I loved Singing in the Rain. And
yeah,
even then, I was like, okay, it's okay. Uh,
yeah.
let's
But
do that. Which it's amazing as a medium how much ballet and opera, because it's easy to make fun of, but you can tell a story with it and without words, which is incredibly impressive. And screw it, we're already talking about it. Do you want to just talk about that scene, that sequence?
sure, yeah.
Um, what I loved about it is it was the perfect blend of stage language and cinematic language.
Yes, I wrote down the same thing.
It is, and that was controversial at the time. Some people didn't like that, and my response is, if you want to see a stage play, go see a stage play.
Yeah.
Like if you want to see ballet, go see ballet, which is fine and perfectly valid. I like going to the theater, not that I can do it much, but it's and it's film was a pretty developed medium at this time, and we're in the color era, at the beginnings of the color era. Um, and we're coming out of World War II and doing all that. People want their escapism, but it's it's I don't know. I guess your average person, how much understanding of cinematic language that they have, how much do they today? And I'm not saying I have a perfect
Well,
understanding,
I
but I
guess
think with this, it's straightforward enough where anybody could get it and feel it and understand these sort of impressionistic or even surrealist elements of it.
yeah, I think, I can see people watching it and kind of being unsure of what they're trying to say because it is like it does a great job balancing it to where it does feel very cinematic while maintaining the theatrical elements of the theater. And but I could see someone watching this and be like, well, okay, we see the special effects, but what's going on here? Why is this having special effects?
Why are the backgrounds changing so quickly?
Yeah, I can see someone being like, is this supposed to be whisking her off into the actual fairy tale or something like that?
Right.
Um,
When
because I don't know.
it's showing the subjective experience of the dancer, of
Yeah.
somebody in a flow state lost in their work, which
Yeah.
is something hard to do. It's hard to describe a flow state, but we've all been in it at one point. Um, and it's a real thing. I think it's a measurable thing in psychology where your brain is obviously your brain's activating differently, but I think they can measure it and image it even.
Yes,
Don't
like
quote me.
certain shooting days when I'm making a film, I forget every single thing other than the film. And then I'm like, oh wait, we need to break and like eat something because everyone's hungry except for
Yeah,
me
you sound
because
like
my
Lermontov.
brain turned it off and was like, you don't need to eat, you need to finish shooting, you know.
No, I feel that way. Sometimes I get mad if I'm writing or something and I start getting hungry. That happened yesterday. I was
Yeah.
I was irritated. I'm like, in a restaurant, haven't ordered anything. I'm just sitting in the back. I'm like, fine, it's been 2 hours. I'll eat something. And I got mashed potatoes and potato salad at a barbecue
Oh
place.
shit.
Yeah, I just went hard on the potatoes. That's all I did. That's all I ate. I wonder why I feel weak all the time. But I what was that thing with Lermontov giving her? She was about to get a glass of water, and he's like, "You don't want to ruin your breath." What myth is that?
Yeah, I don't know, especially because she was eating right after that, and then she had like a roll with her food. I'm like, dude, that's gonna make you sleepy, bloated. Like,
Yeah,
what's the point of the no water? Yeah, I
they
don't
didn't have
get that.
keto back then.
Yeah,
They didn't even
yeah.
have Atkins.
I don't know what
Um,
that stupid shit is. You need to stay hydrated. People, if you're dancing and doing a lot of physical activity, make sure to stay hydrated.
no, dude, water makes you weak.
Yeah.
That was back in our dad's generation. It was just like, what if it's during sports, water makes you weak.
You better be
it's in
drinking sugary Gatorade at all times.
Yeah. No, even that makes you in the Arkansas summers, water makes you weak.
Oh, okay.
In 110 degrees, 100% humidity summers. Um it's because there's a lot of things that are surrealistic in that. And it starts with her in the window. Um which I'm already thinking from the audience's perspective at what can everybody see that she's looking into a window, but I guess
Yeah.
it's angled where they
But
can see.
that's when it slips into like it doesn't matter. You're just seeing
No,
a
because she
kid.
jumps into the shoes and they magically tie around her,
Yeah.
you know. And Lermontov and Craster both replace the villain, which is interesting
Yeah.
because even though Lermontov obviously takes a role as the antagonist in this movie, Craster being the villain at one point, and in a few scenes later, they're dating. What does that mean? I mean,
Yeah.
there's
'Cause they had their conflict of him trying to get her to match the beat because that's the heart of ballet
yeah,
of
because that's what you do. That's the
yeah.
job.
But then when it's down to the wire, he's bashfully like, "Oh, I'll make sure to play at your tempo, this or that." So I don't know.
Does he
Maybe.
say that? Does he? I'm trying to remember. Does he say before the actual thing, "I'll make sure to play your tempo"?
Well, yeah, he says like, "I'll make sure to like follow you in case you like slow down or whatever. I'll match that."
And maybe in the first performance is a hit because I think this movie is anti Lermontov's philosophy personally, um, and that it basically says, yeah, you can date your coworker, it's fine. It's risky, but it's fine. That's how I came about. There's two coworkers dating. But so that would indicate that because he relents and kind of goes along with her and they work together in spirited collaboration, I think that supports that thesis, if you would. Um,
She might be
because
fearing
but
some.
there's still an antagonistic, and maybe it's kind of like, I don't know, you argue with your girlfriend, then you have makeup sex after. Like that arguing kind of heats you up, and then you're like, okay, maybe that's love because our heartbeats are faster, and we just like all you have to do is reinterpret things cognitively, and that kind of turns the physiological sensation into an emotional one.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I don't
get
know.
that.
I'm maybe way over analyzing it, but that's what we do here at the Heart.
I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of because they don't really give us a hint of them flirting or falling in love. It's kind of just like after
They,
this sequence.
right, and they do just because it's a movie and that's what happens. I understand that criticism. They don't have a ton of chemistry. I won't say they
Yeah.
have no chemistry, but they certainly it does feel, I won't say contrived, but contrived? No, not contrived. I'm trying
I
to think of
don't
a better word.
I wouldn't say contrived. I
But
don't really know.
a bit prescriptive due to the genre. And just also I think due to the time in which it was made, you're supposed to have two lovers on a poster gazing longly into each other's eyes, a la Gone with the Wind. These posters aren't exactly like that. I even Googled, but
But also she needs a conflict to tear at her and so they can kind of mirror some of the things that happen in the play or the ballet that she's performing.
right.
So I
And
get
then
that.
the audience might just be expecting those two to get together. The
But it's
two,
just interesting because like the first act of this is like it's not I'm not gonna say it's like light plot, but it's just like so I don't know, there's not too much to it. It's like, okay,
It's all character driven.
yeah, he wants to do this, she wants to do this, and then we kind of see them all working as a unit, and then that's really it. And then there's not
I mean,
too much.
there's conflict. He gets let into the company pretty early,
Yeah,
Craster. Almost too easily. But there's a bit more push and pull with Victoria being let into the company
yeah,
because Lermontov's ignoring her. He's kind of negging her in that way.
yeah,
But trying to see, not in an abusive way, but is she emotionally strong enough to do this?
yeah,
Um, if I just don't cater to her because she's nepo baby, she's from some upper class woman. So let's make sure she's not too soft and is able to form these calluses on her feet. Because the ballet, the extended sequence happens at the end of the second act, and in any other movie, that would be the climax.
yeah,
That's what I found so interesting structurally.
yeah,
So I'm immediately like, okay, what is the third act of this movie? Is it them trying to get this play on to other stages? What new obstacle is going to come in? Because it seems like this went off without a hitch.
yeah. It's really the third act that gives you so much more to chew on. Like, it's kind of crazy. And I do like that they go on and do more performances like Swan Lake and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, where's Julian? And then how is he involved in this? Because they're celebrating. And then Lermontov is like upset about her announcement that she's like in love or whatever. And then finally we cut to Julian in the back of the stagecoach with Vicky or Victoria or whatever. And it's like, okay, so now I see how this is all coming together. It's really that moment. With him though, I kind of wish in the earlier in the movie we could have gotten a little more of him developing as an artist and having a little more up and down troubles fitting in.
Yeah, because he gets let in to that apartment where Lermontov's being an alpha
Yeah.
and eating 27 different kinds of fruits for breakfast. And
Fucking Europeans.
oh yeah. Uh what, you don't like fruit?
I like a continental breakfast.
Oh yeah, I love a continental breakfast. Yeah, yeah. Every time I stay at a Quality Inn and eat their continental breakfast, I'm like, I'm so European.
Yeah.
I'm so let me get my European cornflakes. Yeah, I don't know. He does kind of slip into that rather easily, but I guess it's clear that he's been studying for a long time. He also only seems max 10 years younger than Lermontov without the makeup, I guess.
Yeah.
The gray
His
hair.
makeup especially is a bit caked on.
Who, Lermontov?
No, Julian in the at
Oh
least
yeah.
in the at the beginning, he seems really pale.
Yeah, certain things. 1896.
But
Yeah. Oh well, no, they're about a 15-year difference.
yeah.
I don't know. It
But yeah.
just everybody smoked back then. It was hard to tell.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Yeah.
tell people's ages. You're like, what's that guy? 60? No, that's a baby. That's just it's just a baby with a Marlboro.
This is the baby for Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
Cigar.
That's just how they happened.
That's just how it was, dude.
That's why they had to stop advertising with Joe Camel. Too many babies were getting emphysema.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are my complaints with the film is that I wish there was a little more with him in that area. And then I wish we would have had a little more flirtation development between them two to really strengthen their relationship. So the fallout could have been hit a little bit harder, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's already for the time, I would say, a long film,
Yeah.
215. Although when you think about it, it's just a 2 hour movie, and then there's a 15-minute musical jammed in the middle, but
Yeah.
it works somehow.
Yeah.
So that's why it is. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful movie though.
Yeah. It's
But
beautiful.
I understand one of the reasons I don't date much. I haven't been on a date in a while. Is like with my creative work. I mean, between doing comedy and this podcast, it is like I'm not even working enough. I'm not even making enough money. So so it's like I need to Like, I don't even know where I would fit a relationship in. And I see that trouble, but also people can be so egomaniac. It's like Picasso and other artists like that who will just use up women, almost like suck up women because they think it's their muse, that women are their muse.
Yeah.
Like suck them up and emotionally manipulate them and then discard them when they're done to fuel their art and their own ego. Um, it's weird. It's like they use women, but instead of create children to create art, but they put their bodies through just as much turmoil just with their own narcissism.
Yeah. And like Lermontov has like no distractions. He doesn't have any flings or any like drama other than his art. It's just like complete focus from him.
Right. And now you do ask, what's the point? Um, because I have a feeling he's there in his office till 8 p.m. every night. And everybody's like, oh, I forgot to say good night to Lermontov. You have to say good night just in case he wants you for any one more thing.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a common thing.
yeah, it is. And it's the thermo, I mean, the theater world's so wild.
Yeah.
So I'm sure casting Couchy. This movie avoided that. There
Yes.
was a point after, like at the beginning of the third act, where he's like scoots his chair. Lermontov scoots his chair next to her and is like, "I'm gonna make you a great dancer." I'm like, okay, I hope there's no implications here, but I think this movie's
No,
too.
I think he's so like art pilled, he doesn't even care.
I
Like,
do. I think like his gonads have shriveled up into his body because he's so art pilled. Like he's not even sexual anymore. He's just like, I need to create musical.
yeah.
It's weird. Normally that's the joke would be is like, oh, musical opera, haha, gay. It's like, no, this man has no sexuality whatsoever. He is there for the music. The music's the only thing that exists, and he says that over and over.
Yeah. Speaking of gay, are we to pretend that some of these choreographers in this movie are not gay? Like,
Yeah, it's all, dude. There's all sorts of stuff coded as gay in old movies. They just can't
yeah,
say it.
I
It's
know.
so weird. It's
You're prancing around in lipstick and frilly outfits. Like, come on, dude. Like, it's cool. Like, it's just so funny that people back then were just like, oh no, it's just an art form, you know? No big
I
deal.
mean, we would be lost without gay people, and I'm not even joking. Like
Yeah.
gay people have always contributed so much to society. What would theater be if everybody was heterosexual? Boring.
Boring costumes for
Oh, it'd be
sure.
terrible.
Yeah.
Need a little of that pizzazz.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know. I'll have to ask my theater friends because they're gay. So yeah, I would like to
Yeah.
pretend like, no, this is politically incorrect, and we're just joking. But at the same time, like, where's the lie? I don't know.
Yeah.
We're down with it. Who knows? He even said, Lermontov at one point says it seems a long time at the birthday party, at Grisha's birthday party. It seems a long time since I sat down to supper with my entire family. No, he's
Yeah.
straight up like, this is my only family. I have nothing else. Yeah, I wonder what his childhood was like.
Like, what a bastard, dude. Like you're in a beautiful location surrounded by a bunch of cool people with a giant cake, and you're like, ugh, this is stupid.
He wasn't like, this is stupid.
I know. It's
Even
just
then,
like,
it's almost like a business dinner to him.
yeah, he's just too busy thinking about Victoria and her thinking about dick instead of the craft.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Maybe if Julian and Victoria bone, that'll help their rhythm because they'll be making rhythm together.
yeah.
They'll be working that muscle out. That's
So
stupid.
yeah.
Um,
He fucking has beef with Julian and then fires Julian after they argue. And Julian says, pretty much, he says ballet is like a second rate form of expression, which is mean as fuck.
it's so mean.
And and like, the choreographer is like upset because like he announces he's gonna get rid of this new play, and he's like, dude, I've choreographed half of this play. Like, what are you doing? Like, quit being petty. Like, and
Well,
he
it is
quits.
insane because he's anti-human emotions impacting the art, but that's exactly what's happening with him. He's a hypocrite.
Yeah.
His emotions and his own jealousy, that even though I don't think he wants Victoria romantically, he's jealous that she's not devoting all of his life and attention to him. So
Yep.
it's a different sort of like Egotism.
It's a really interesting uh dynamic
And
because
that's why I think his character is so
that's why
interesting.
the
He's the most
movie's,
interesting character.
yeah, it's above what I've seen because it gets tiring with the kind of boring kind of petty beef people can have in like these kinds of movies, or like
Oh, especially with romances.
the romances and this or that. Yeah, it's just like, come on, man.
So, you know, those plots that a phone call could solve everything.
Yeah.
This movie's old, but it's not too old to have phones. There's one point where he calls her up to like that palace on the hill to tell her that she's in the play, and I'm like, okay, you could have done this with a phone call, but you got to be theatrical with it. You
Yeah.
got to have a flair for the dramatic, Lermontov. But I mean, but one of the things I do think he genuinely cares about his cast and crew 100%
Yeah.
and respects them. Otherwise, he wouldn't have hired them, of course. But when everybody's nervous, the debut night, I mean, he's going around calming everybody down.
It's
You
true.
know, Victoria's like, I've forgotten how to dance. He's like, no, you've only think you've forgotten. It's all in your body. And he's like, you have the muscle memory. Um, and I mean, that's just being a good leader. You know, you
Great
got
director.
great director. You have to be a hard ass sometimes, but also there's other times where it's like, hey, you have to play a bit of emotional support. Like you have to be a little bit of a therapist,
Yeah.
within reason and healthy boundaries. So and then on the way out, one of the other guys, I don't know his role in the play, older man, says, you know, you're a magician for putting this together in 3 weeks, which is insane.
Yeah, that's
Like
fucking
unrealistic,
crazy.
honestly. But it's what he says is even the greatest magician can't pull a rabbit out of a hat if there's not already a rabbit in there, which I think is actually him giving credit to his cast and crew. So he's not egomaniacal in that sense that he just wants to take all the credit. Like he really believes in the company. I mean, he has a lot of admirable qualities. He just has that fatal flaw, which is just good storytelling, you know, that
Yeah,
every character kind of has their tragic or whatever flaw.
totally. And 3 weeks to do all that is nuts.
No, it's ridiculous to
It's just
make all
like,
those
yeah,
backgrounds and
for
choreography. No.
our musicals in high school, it was like several months, like February till April, like getting shit ready. And like
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a full-time job though.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. But yeah, I remember in 10th grade on Back to the 80s, the stage crew were actually in character. Like we were in janitor uniforms because it was an 80s high school. And so he had us so that it would fit the theme. And so if like we're out there at certain points, it makes sense narratively. So it was easier to work around certain things that would have been impossible to do in like the 30 seconds that the curtain was down. But on the Friday night of the show, Thursday night's like the big, like the first night, and then that's mostly like school people and stuff like that. And then Friday night's when all the parents and all the families come out. So Friday night's always the big night. And I remember him telling it, we would watch him go around so stressed, like for weeks practicing this. And he would like nearly be like like he's trying not to swear at kids basically.
Oh
and,
yeah.
and he'd be like a nervous wreck and like forget shit all the time. And but then he would miraculously pull it together in the last week every single time. It was always really impressive to watch. But you would tell him things in the last week and he'd forget. And one time he said, okay, it'd be cool is during the big fight scene which was between our friend Justin, who was playing the bully or the nerd, and he was fighting the bully. He's like, since y'all are in the janitors in the show, y'all can go out there on stage and witness the fight too. And we're like, okay, cool. We get to go out on stage, fun. And then an hour later, it goes into the play, and we go out on stage, and he sees us go out there, and he grabs me by the arm, his nails digging into my arm, drags me back off stage. He says, "What the fuck are you doing?" And like berating me, and I'm like, like 15 years old, like, whoa. I'm
He
like,
said the
dude,
F word. He cussed at you.
yeah, no, I was just like, he'd never talk to me like, I'm
That's
like,
funny. That's
Mr. X,
hilarious.
you told us we could go out on stage. He's like, oh yeah, I did. And like he completely like changed and like smiled and then patted me on the shoulder and pushed me out there. And I was like, what the fuck is going on, dude?
That's what I've cursed around kids.
I know, but it was
that
just
I've
like
taught.
I had never experienced that before.
That's hilarious.
But he was like so scatterbrained that there was like a
Yeah.
fight with like lightsabers during this
Mhm.
fucking hacky Gen X show that he sent me, who didn't have a car, wasn't even old enough to drive. He's like, I need you to go to Target and get us two lightsabers. I know you like Star Wars. You're an expert. Get us the good ones. I was like, okay. So,
Wait, did you have a license?
no,
So you just went and drove?
no, I got someone to take me, but
Oh, okay.
he told me because I was a fucking Star Wars nerd. He's like, you know which ones to get. I'm like, I guess, sure.
Yes, at
So
Target, you're not gonna get
yeah,
a Force
Target. Yeah.
FX.
It's not
Yeah.
like we're going, yeah, we're not gonna get $100 Force FX.
Yeah. All right. Let me buy a ticket to Orlando real quick and go to
Yeah.
Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, the only way to get them on was online back then. I remember they used to have them at Hastings. Anyway, those are my theater memories that I haven't
Yeah.
thought of
Now
in
that we've
years.
circled back to Star Wars, that's our time to.
Yeah,
to
yeah, we
back
always
to
have to
visit.
circle back to
You want to talk about the ending?
yeah, totally. Because like yeah, because I felt like, whoa, okay, they're in love. Okay, he's jealous. Okay, so he fires him. Okay, so now what? Oh, she says she's gonna leave too if he gets rid of Julian, and he's kind of probably trying to call her bluff, I think. And then she's like, nope, I'm out of here, and he doesn't even shake her hand because he's a bastard in that way. So I don't know. And then we get the quick like, oh, they're married. Here's the we don't get to see their marriage or any kind of like growing of their relationship together before all this stuff starts to backfire a bit, which I think is kind of strange, but whatever.
Maybe it was cut for time.
I don't know. Because then I do like we get to see Lermontov like stew in his own like frustration and
Oh, his
jealousy.
hair's getting more and more frazzled, and he's in that red
Yeah, he's in that red.
smoker's jacket, bathrobe, whatever it is, just seething, smashes his hand against.
Yeah,
Dude, so
that's just so
melodramatic.
funny to me. Like
So
he's so dramatic. Like that's why he's so fit for the craft, you know. It's
he's
like,
so good. So
yeah.
Carrie Elway's looking, or Carrie Elway, so him looking.
Yeah. But so yeah, he he tries to meet up with that other chick while he's in France, right? With
Yeah,
the
French chick, and she
arena
gets
or
back
whatever.
on. But then he learns that Victoria's coming back to visit, and he's like, "I'm gonna have to take advantage of this,"
Yeah.
and basically begs and convinces her to be back in the play because she wants to be with the best, you know. Um, and God forbid you have a marriage and a career at the same time. Um, although and part of it's just back then you were expected to pop out babies like a potato gun. That's just how it, that's just how what that was the societal expectation. And you can't dance when you're 8 months pregnant. You can't do all that stuff. Dancers are so in shape. It is insane how in shape you have to be. Like it gets thought of as a frivolous thing or something to make
Hell
fun of.
no, dude.
No, it's like I remember, and he maybe this is not accurate because the man's crazy. Jean-Claude Van Damme. He might have just been coked up when he said this, but I for one of his movies, like he took dancing to like help him with choreography and just knowing how to move his body and stuff. And
Sure.
he's obviously a very in shape guy, but he's like, is the most exhausting thing I've ever done in my life. He's like, it's so much hours a day dancing.
Yeah. Shit. I remember in high school playing one round of Just Dance and be like, God damn.
Yeah, yeah. Now imagine you're doing that 8 hours a day on your tippy toes.
No.
French dude screaming at you with a megaphone.
Yeah.
So he convinces her to get back into the production, and she's in her dressing room. And then I love when Julian shows up and he's wearing that black coat. It's like the first sinister thing we've seen him
Yeah.
have draw up in this whole movie. I don't even know if it's raining outside. He just has this menacing, shining black coat and is
Yeah.
glaring at her, mad.
I like
Um,
that it's like, okay, we learn that he's got in with a new opera all on his own and it's going to be a big thing for him. And then we hear her listening to it on the radio and then we learn that he's not there. And then 5 seconds after that, surprise, he's here. It's just a fun reveal. I like it.
it is a very fun reveal. And when Lermontov hears on the radio, he knows exactly what's happening. He's like, I've dealt with composers' egos before. I know what's going. He's immediately like, I know what's happening here. So so they have that confrontation, and she's like, "What do you want? Do you want?" It's unfair of Julian to give her that ultimatum. I mean, she's already there. Well, she was already in France that week anyway. But also, is she going to leave forever? What was she going to do? Was she going to leave?
No, that's the problem. Is like we don't see the dynamic of their marriage or how they interact, so we don't know. But it seems unfair. Obviously, they didn't really get into an agreement that much on the topic because the way she gives in to Lermontov on the train, I feel bad for Julian. I'm like,
Maybe the
oh,
guy's bad in bed. Maybe he's bad in the sack, and she's like, "I know this is a mistake."
I just feel bad. I don't know, and it's just I don't know why she calls him horrible in that letter and stuff. It's like she just drawn back so bad. She hasn't been getting too many shows or whatever, just a few, and she loves the craft so bad that she's willing to just say, "Fuck my husband, I'm going." Like, well, fuck you, asshole. Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I'm
it's theater
I'm so
people.
cucked, dude. I would never watch a movie again if I had to, if that's what it meant to keep my fiance.
Really? Oh
Yeah.
man, you shouldn't have told me that. You
Yeah.
shouldn't. I don't take that crown off, Cal. No, you don't deserve that. Give that to me. Um, I'm unsullied and unburdened by pussy right now, so I can be as creative as I want.
Uh, yeah, well, I
I,
mean,
I get pretty lonely sometimes.
well, thankfully, if I had some cool opportunity somewhere, that it would not be hard to work that out with her, and it wouldn't be an issue, and she wouldn't fling herself into a fucking train. So,
Yeah, she wouldn't. Unlike Victoria, who
which is fucking stupid.
it's kind of stupid. And some of the discourse apparently is like, did the shoes maker do it? Or did she do it? Well, there's no other nothing mystical happening in this movie. There's some like interiority that's surrealistic in that sense and kind of
Yes,
impressionistic.
definitely.
But that just represents the interiority of her during the extended musical sequence. That's not what the audience is seeing. That's what we are seeing as the film audience. I'm talking about the audience in the theater. You understand?
Obviously, yeah.
And so the idea that the red shoes are being magical and they're actually on his feet, I don't buy that. Also, it's been pointed out she doesn't wear the shoes until later. Like she wouldn't be wearing them in her dressing shoe room. She puts them on stage. So
Yeah.
why would she have them on?
That's an interesting point, though. That's
Yeah.
kind of fun.
So I think she just goes crazy and jumps in front of a train in like a manic fit.
Instead of
It,
just like running down there and catching him and being like, "Oh my God, I don't know what to do. Let's
yeah,
talk through
it's
this."
it's a leap, and that's not a pun.
That's
It's a
fine
leap
though.
of
It's a
legend,
very theatrical movie. I get that. I'm
and
not saying it's a
it
flaw. I'm
reflects
just
the
saying,
fairy tale of the red shoes,
yes,
obviously.
I think it's
Um,
awesome. It's a awesome ending. It's just to me, it's like, damn, man, just go talk it out.
it's well, yeah. Again, with any sort of romance in movies, like a phone call could solve all. Like
But
I don't
also
know.
like the fact that she even had to choose. I don't know. And it's like
It's pretty
obviously
ridiculous. See this is why in the 40s not all women worked. This is why. No, actually, in the 40s they started working because they had to
is a
man the
World War II.
factories. Yeah. So
Uh,
feminism strikes again. Uh, we're not against feminism. What we are against, and here's the moral of this movie, is don't date theater people. Don't do it. Don't date comedians either while you're at it. I'll just tell you, like, yeah, you know how many comedian friends I would maybe take relationship advice with out of the like hundreds of comedians I've met? One. There's a bit like one that I've seen have a healthy relationship. Maybe two or three.
How do you feel about
Um,
Lermontov having the show go on without her as like a tribute while she's still laying on the tracks?
I think it's cool and cinematic.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay, we're back. Okay. Again, that's a you problem in editing. But I'm messing with you. Are you there? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Um, so yeah, that's the moral of the story. Don't date artists, don't date theater people, but also don't date accountants or engineers. Maybe I'm like Lermontov. Maybe I agree with them too much, and that's my problem. Is that you should just not be human and just watch movies. Because real life is lame.
I do like when they do the show without her and the spotlight comes out and he dances with the empty spotlight. I don't know. It's really cool. I
It's
like
yeah, it's
that.
beautiful.
Yeah. Solid movie. Fun movie.
I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah.
Is
Beautiful
it one of
movie.
the greatest films of all time? I can certainly see why people would say that, why it's influential. I think it's a great movie. I think it's a classic.
I think it's
Um,
great. I say, although I will say, go watch Matter of Life and Death. That's a fucking cool movie. That's like one of my favorite portrayals of like the afterlife and like imagery. Really cool movie. Definitely recommend it.
yeah, that's some
Um,
range, Matter of Life and Death, which I haven't seen, but that and this and Black Narcissus, pretty
yeah.
different movies.
All three bangers though. Go check those out, people, if you haven't seen the other ones. Uh, thanks for listening. Next week, I actually forgot what we're doing next week, so it'll be a surprise. If you want other stuff, we've got 150 reviews, or not reviews, episodes of The Harbor on a bunch of different
Discussions.
movies.
Discussions.
Mostly Kino. There's a few things in there that might not be, but we've got a couple of uh, we've got a tie-in movie called The Patrician's Guide to Kino. We've got a video essay called about Wes Anderson's latest film, and then I've got a new one coming this week about Kevin Smith's NFT. So his NFT movie, where I break that down. So look forward to that. You can follow us on Instagram wherever you want. Follow Scott. He's a
Scott
comedian.
K comedy.
All that good stuff. And
All good stuff. Like and subscribe. We
yeah,
do
if
appreciate
you
it. Leave a comment. Mention us to your friends. It
yeah,
all
if you
helps the
think a
metric.
friend of yours likes the same level of movies as you do, maybe he liked us. Who knows? Anyway, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.